Good afternoon. Think Lab number 18 is ready to roll. Mike, where are you?
I am at the St. Paul University Club on Summit Avenue
Very nice.
having coffee.
Very nice. I was saying that I think that's kind of
It's
got that
very cool.
old smell of like liquor and like some French dip and some French fries, but you said all you
It
smell right now
smells
is
like a
smoke.
fire because they've got the big fireplace fired up today. It's wood burning and it has a little bit of a woodsy smell in here.
Nice. All
Yeah,
right.
it's awesome.
How was your week?
My week was very busy. It was very busy with real estate activities. It was very busy with volunteer activities in the evening. And so I had a busy week.
Nice. Okay,
Yes.
and upcoming week about the same or what?
It's going to be busy with real estate again
Okay.
because I've got some listings that are, there's a lot of activity, a lot of activity. I've got a million one listing over in Lake Elmo, and the activity that it's getting is crazy. It's been very good. And the volunteer this week isn't so much, but choir rehearsal on Wednesday, and then Good Friday service where we sing a bunch of stuff on Friday, and then of course Easter Sunday. And then I'm hosting family at the house.
You know, it's so odd with Easter being so late this year
So
that
late.
and the lack of snow.
Hmm. It
It's
actually feels like spring, but it's cold.
yeah, we have some lake listings coming and looking at some lake listings and a lot of the water is open now for the first time.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, it's
that's
great.
awesome.
I mean,
Yeah.
we still have a lot that are covered, but yeah.
Hmm.
So, all right, you ready to get rolling today?
Yep. Roll, baby, roll. And for
All right.
people that love listening, they should like
Wait,
and
what?
they should smash the like
Oh
button.
yeah, smash the like button.
They
With Dominic
should
being gone, we
they
yeah.
should comment on what they want to hear.
Okay.
And maybe if they're not, yeah, they follow us, like us, man. Come on, let's do it.
All right. So I have in my little pause here,
Hmm.
NAR came out with their buyer and seller trends for 2025. Not quite sure how NAR can have
Okay.
trends for 2025, but I get it. All right.
Well, hey, we're deep into the first quarter.
Yep. All right. No, second quarter.
It
It's
it
April.
ends on April 30th.
No, quarter is three.
Oh,
That would have been March 31st.
oh, okay, never mind.
Second quarter. We should get a little
It's my
tally
it's
of
my version of
corrections,
math.
right? Like, all right. All right. I have a buyer report and I have a seller report from NAR.
Mhm.
Buyers found their agent 40% by a referral from a friend, a neighbor, a relative, or a work colleague. And it actually
40%?
40%, and it actually is almost the same for seller.
Yep, I could
Thoughts
see that.
thoughts on that? Obviously, so I'll give the top three for buyer. Referrals,
Hmm.
past agent,
Hmm.
and inquiring to the listing agent about a specific property. Those are the top three for a buyer. The
I could see
seller,
that.
yep, seller is referral, past agent, and number two is a website. Finding it on a website. Doesn't say which one.
What kind of a website?
It doesn't say. It just says website without a specific reference point. So those were the top. What I thought, we can come back to that 40% because that doesn't surprise me. What's really fascinating to me is how low social media is. We've talked about social media almost every podcast, and
Yeah.
social media is 1%. And they have a breakdown. So they have all buyers, all sellers, and they have breakdown for age ranges. And social media is 1%.
Okay. I've got a comment. I got a few
Yep.
comments. Well,
It's a
first of
podcast.
all, I'm
Yep.
thrilled. I'm thrilled to hear that Zillow didn't come up as in the top of any of them. It's not surprising to me that 40% is referral because I have been working diligently to become a referral-based realtor for a decade now. And we've always been taught that buyers and sellers want to work with their past agent because if especially if they like them, if they knew how to get in touch with them. So keeping in touch with those people are fantastic. And then thirdly, I get called off sign calls for our listing often, many listings. So that's not unusual. I think the social media thing comes into play, and I'll say again, I don't do social media specifically to try to hook buyers or sellers. But when they do get a referral from someone about me and they do go seeking on social media like Instagram or even LinkedIn for my online presence, it's important that it's there because then they can see you in action, learn about your personality. And the younger people, and I'm going to say 30 and under, when they look somebody up, they instantaneously just go to Instagram. And over the weekend, I did get several inquiries on my property over in Lake Elmo. And I decided to go straight to LinkedIn. And so I saw who these people were. And so social media is important. Don't just count it, but I wouldn't live and hang your hat on it for a way to get leads.
What I think is really fascinating about this report is they have it broken down from 5 age groups. So they start at 25 and then they kind of end at 100, right? So there's 5 age groups and it's about 10 years or so. What I think is fascinating is so the numbers I'm giving are the average of the 5 age groups, which is 1%. But they have the breakdown per age group. And I find it fascinating that even the younger client, buyer, seller, 25 to 34-year-old, social media is still 1%. And what's funny is
Okay.
it stops at 59. The age bracket, the 2 age brackets from 60 and higher, the social media is 0, which doesn't surprise me.
Okay.
But a lot of people say you have to be on Facebook
But
because
the thing
Facebook has
is
the older group.
for, well, I mean, I'm 61 and I purposefully and intentionally engage in LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and more so on YouTube. But it's my my whole goal is to have ability and to have content, and so people can see my personality. I'm not out there hoping somebody's going to send me a DM and I want to work with you. Does it happen? Yes, but that's not my point. Um, I just want to have an online presence. So what we're looking at is a breakdown of where leads come from. But if we looked at another, if we dug deeper and looked like, okay, if person A gives you a referral for this particular realtor, do you go look for an online presence for them? Because what we've been taught is if my friend gives their grown adult child my name to be a realtor, are they just going to take their word for it, or are they going to at least go and look me up online to see what my status like? And I think it's the latter. I think they're going to check me out online. Does this guy even have an online presence? Who is he?
I think what's really fascinating about this, so if anyone that's listening wants this report, it's on NAR's website, but I have it. It's like 180 some pages. And I think it's really fascinating because when you look at some of this, like it talks about open houses. Buyers found their agent 5% at open houses. We had a really good year, 2024, with open houses.
Mm-hmm.
We converted way more than we ever have at open houses. What's interesting is the age, the percentage, the people that found their buyer agent at an open house gets higher as the age bracket goes up. So
Possibly.
no, it is.
Is that what it says? The data says
Yeah.
that? Okay.
So it says here, visited an open house. 3% was the 26 to 34.
Mhm.
4% from 35 to 44, 4% from 45 to 59, 3% from 60 to 69,
Mhm.
and 4% from 70 and above.
Mhm.
That's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Because I would have guessed it was the other way around. I would have thought that if 40% of the buyers are finding their agent from who they used,
Mhm.
and so many of them are walking into an open house, and it goes to show how a listing can really drive an agent's business. Because if they're able to convert 5 out of every 100 people that come into that open house, boy, that doesn't that just invite you to spend more? Remember last week I said, invest in open house signs, flood the street, flood the market.
Yeah.
I was by my house the other day, and there was an open house coming. There must have been 17 signs.
I was thinking about that this weekend when I hosted my open house because
Yeah.
I had three signs in my trunk to get people into the house and have one in the front yard.
Yeah.
And it was on my mind like, oh my gosh, I'm in Lake Elmo. I wish I had 10 more signs just to put them all around downtown Lake Elmo for people to just to see the darn sign, whether it brought them to my house or not. So I am going to invest in more signs. Um, but the other thing is what you said is listings do drive your business. And we've always been taught that from the very beginning, from, our old brokerage that we were both at, listings, leads, listings, leverage. And to succeed and to have a long lasting career, they were like, be a listing agent. And a lot of the people that came through the open house, and I had a lot of people through, were number one, people that didn't have a buyer's agreement with anybody because they didn't want to sign something to get into a property. So they're utilizing the open house to get in. Smart. Secondly, people go shopping for realtors at open houses to see how they, jive with them. Smart. And number three, people go shopping for their listing agent that way too. So it just goes to show that the human element of real estate is still very, very, very important. So I guess my biggest thing is do open houses. If you don't have a listing,
Absolutely. I
do
mean, the
them for
data
your
shows it.
do them for your colleagues. Do
Yeah.
them, do them, do them, do them, do them. People love them.
All right. So, next topic.
Hmm.
What do you think buyers want most from their agent? And the top answer is 49%. And by the way, I would have got it wrong.
Okay.
What do you think it is?
Guidance on how to offer price.
Third.
But it's in the top three, so I'm happy
It
about
is.
that.
Yeah. And by the way,
Um,
price negotiations is 11%.
okay, well, I'm glad that the top three is guidance for them in terms of how to offer. That's amazing. Um, number one, number one answer. I'm going to say availability to show them houses.
Um, that is not on here, so I'm going to
Really?
tell you. They
What's
want
number one?
they want to find out what houses are for sale. They want
Okay.
us as the agent to tell them, and here's why my mind is blown.
I'm blown from that too, considering most of the buyers are always sending me things.
Exactly.
And if I send them if I send them an MLS specific search, they never open it and it
Exactly.
expires.
Exactly. I was
It's
just going to
like,
say that. I said I try to set up all my buyers for an MLS search,
mhm.
and we can see their activity.
Yeah, they don't look at
And,
it.
last viewed 10 days ago. In the meantime, you've shown them 6 houses because they were on Zillow or
Right.
Edina or
It happened
whatever.
yesterday. They were like, we've spent the last couple hours on Zillow. And I'm like, let me help you. And because when they send me something and it's gone or it's contingent, it's because I can query that out. But I will say this spring, I have noticed Zillow to be much more accurate than they used to be. So most of the time when they send me something, it truly is available. And I've been quite happily impressed by that. I would be looking at those portals if I was looking for a house. It's like it's something to do, and I'm addicted to my phone anyway.
Wait, you would or you wouldn't?
I would.
Okay.
Absolutely, I would.
Um,
There's something in the brain that says, I think I can see more if I look online myself than what's coming because when they go on Zillow and there's like 96 options, but when they look at mine, there's like 10 options. Well, that's because you specifically told me you wanted 3+ bedrooms, 2+ bathrooms, 2+ garages. You want to be in this area, and this is your sales price. So when I go into MLS and do that, it's going to really hone. Zillow doesn't do that. Zillow is much broader. Would you
yeah,
agree?
yeah, no, I totally agree. And like I said,
It's like,
that's what's so great about
hmm
this whole thing. So here's another one that backs up what we were
hmm
talking about.
hmm
What is the most important thing your agent can do for communication? And it's tied at
okay,
71%.
okay.
My
I'm a,
agent calls me to inform me of activities in the market, and my agent sends me property info via text message.
yes. I was going to say that the number one thing is to use texting often and heavy. And if they text you, you need to answer them. And I know that's kind of counterintuitive being in charge of your own schedule, but it's a new world. So when they text you something, answer. So here's my phone. It's always with me. And I have switched completely over to Home Spotter, where if they send me something from Zillow, I immediately put it into Home Spotter and it tells me if it's contingent or not. And then I forward it out of there to them. And I'm like, this is a killer location. This is great. And it's available. The online MLS, if you're listening, I have a complaint. The online, the online,
Hold on, they're on the phone.
okay, okay, this is my
Yeah.
real estate apps. The online called MLS Touch, which is our app for MLS, it absolutely stinks. You have to always sign yourself into it. It's a pain in the ass. I love Home Spotter. I love, 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 love Home Spotter. And then when I send it to them, they love it. So texting, text, text, text.
You will love this next question.
I
What is
will.
what is the quality they consider this as sellers? No, hold on. I want to make sure these are buyers still.
Okay.
What is the most important quality that they consider to be most important?
For
Honesty and
for a buyer?
yeah, for a buyer agent.
Okay.
Honesty and integrity is number one,
Okay, I can see that.
98%. But that goes back to when you have talked about whether or not you want to be a realtor or do you want to be an agent.
Correct.
So I think that's great.
And I don't want to be an agent. I'm a realtor.
The lowest number on here, and again, I find this fascinating,
Mhm.
is technology.
I find that fascinating too.
You want to know what's really going to blow your mind?
Hmm.
The younger the group,
hmm
the less important they think it is. And the
Technology.
older the group, the more important they think it is. So is it because the young people are expecting you to know how to use a phone and an app and this program and that program, so it's expected, so they don't find it of value because they're like, duh.
I have an aha for that. Oh, we went back to the old Big Red days. This is my aha
Why
moment
do
that
you
just
call it
hit
Big
me.
Red?
I
They
don't know. I
are
don't like
they
to say it. I don't know.
I don't even think they're red. Aren't they maroon?
Keller Williams?
Yeah. Are they red?
They're red.
Hmm. All right.
Anyway, I'm with Lake Sotheby's International Realty. Let's get that clear. And David, you are with Think Minnesota, owner, broker extraordinaire. But I'll tell you, I think that's really interesting. because older people like us, David, it is technology. It was introduced to us as technology. We were taught it to be technology, and it is technology. To the younger people, they have been raised with technology. So to them, I don't even think it's considered technology. It's just like activities of daily living. It's like ever since they've been a toddler, they've had a phone in their hand, or they've been playing on mom and dad's computer. It's just
Well,
normal. So
I heard something the other day. Is it this?
they're not impressed that I can use the
Right.
computer or the phone. If I can't, they just think I'm a total boof.
Don't they call it like the screen generation or something?
Yeah,
That this
screen
whole
time.
group of
It's just screen time. I mean,
I went through Bear's backpack
mhm.
over break, so 2, 3 weeks ago.
You invasive parent.
And all these notebooks that he had
Yeah.
to have,
Hmm. Nothing's in them.
no, everything's online. They never sent anything home, everything's signed to Google Doc, blah 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 blah. And I'm going, okay, it's not like I don't necessarily, I mean, $9 or whatever to buy all these notebooks, but I'm like, you're not even using them.
I don't
Now,
think
it might
that
be, go ahead.
I don't think that what we just talked about is a pass for older people like us to think that we don't have to use technology. I My opinion is the fact that it's just assumed. It's like they
That's what
just
I'm saying, but
it's
isn't
just
it
abs
interesting,
and it's
right?
not called or considered technology, but don't think that's a pass for you not to know how to use it.
Okay, switching to sellers.
Ew.
When they are interviewing a seller agent,
Mhm.
how many agents do they interview before they list? What is the number one answer?
Sometimes it's one.
It is one. Huge. What percent do you think?
I would say more than 85%.
81.
Okay, I wasn't too far off.
And this is the opposite. It's the opposite of the curve. The younger, the higher it is, and the older, it slopes down.
So the
The
oh,
youngers were 86, 85, 82, 80, 79.
of the first agent
Yep.
that they interview.
Yep.
And but again, there's sub levels to that, and I would be very certain that they did a lot of their preliminary stuff, weeding out based on referrals, looking them up, who they thought they would jive with, and then they might have zoned in on somebody. But it is true. I think that most of the people hire the first agent that they talk to. I was referred to somebody through a great referral source. I've worked with several people that they have referred me in the past, and we have a very good personal and working relationship together. And I was referred to an older person, probably like my age in their 60s, and they texted me and they said, "We've already met with a realtor and we've already hired them." I'm like, fine. They didn't even meet with me. And it could have been because they were selling something in Bloomington and they didn't think I could sell something in Bloomington, although I have. Or it could have been, sadly, if they interviewed a person from Bloomington. And sometimes when another realtor's name comes up, that realtor will bash that other person. But the other thing is how many times have we been taught that when you're in a listing appointment, don't leave unless you have that document signed? And the realtor did their job. And I'm like, I wasn't offended, but but yeah, they hired the first person they talked to. I'm like, okay.
On this is a different question. It's what is the most important service provided? The third one is the one that I'm
Are we talking for sellers?
sellers. The third one is one that we are seeing a lot right now, which is the seller has a specific time frame they need to be out by.
And they want the listing agent to be able to sell that house within that time frame.
Yep, and I need to close on this date.
Okay.
We are seeing that I bet you on 60 to 70% of my personal listings
Hmm.
where it's not, hey, I need to sell it. Here's plan B. It
Hmm.
is, I need you to help sell it. Here's plan B, and this has to get done by this date. whether it's downsizing, upsizing, job, whatever,
Mhm,
that so the reason that's crazy to me, or not crazy, the reason that's really interesting that it's super high on this list is
mhm,
A, I think what we see out east in particular trickles down here.
mhm.
I always think we're a couple months behind what's going on in other parts of the country, but I'm seeing a huge influx now where a seller is the date is more important than the price.
Yes, I'm not going to disagree with that because
But are you seeing an increase though?
I'm seeing it to be very commonplace for the seller to say, this is what my preferred close date is. And so that's when I say, okay, then that's pretty quick. So we need to price this house to sell and we need to be a team and get it on the market for the proper price. But I'll tell you, as long as we're talking about this, I have received offers this spring from realtors who have never texted me or called me or even emailed me for that matter to ask what is the preferred closing date for my seller because that's a big deal.
It,
And they
according
just
to
and
this,
they
it
just
is.
and they just willy-nilly throw in a close date and it's not even close to what my sellers are wanting.
Right.
They could because they're probably building a new property and they're tied in as well. I have had offers come in, um, text rather, strange number. I don't know who it is. Hi, the buyers I'm representing are wondering if you have offers. And my reply is, who are you? What brokerage do you work for? Like, no identification at all. Like, hi, this is Billy Bob from Realty X. I'm working with buyers and they're curious if you have offers. What is your seller's prefer? I mean, they didn't even bother to introduce themselves or tell me what brokerage they were from.
Right.
And I'm like, wow. But that's become common.
But
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 that's
do you
interesting.
find
Closing date is the very, very, very big day, and people will choose a lesser price for their closing date.
and do you find that when you have okay, so you have the seller,
Hmm.
buyer agent right, sends in an offer, doesn't ask you, do they have a preference for closing date? So you're looking at
Hmm.
it, you present it. Do you find that your sellers get fixated on the date and
Yes,
they're kind of oblivious to price,
yes,
terms, inspections, type
yes,
of loan, percent? Like it's
yes.
such a, I don't want to say silly because obviously it's very important
Well,
to,
it's very important, but yeah, they
but
get focused on that.
they
But I'm
get
like,
so focused that, you know, in a roundabout way, it's kind of like earnest money. Like,
yeah,
does it really make a difference if it's 3,000 or 3,200? But sometimes you have clients that just can't get their eye off the ball, and the closing date is such a big one, I
it's
think.
a huge deal. And I just say, well, everything is we can negotiate anything you want. Closing date, price,
Right.
um,
The other thing on here that I was
terms.
surprised about,
Hmm.
super low.
Yeah,
Help with negotiation and dealing with the buyer agent.
interesting.
They find very little value in that. And what's funny is
That's
there's
a
a
little
lot,
frightening in a way.
yeah, there's a lot of social media right now about agents trying to provide value and saying, well, I will help with the negotiations, I will help. But the seller, there's a lot of people posting that it's not resonating with sellers. And according
Hmm.
to this document or this report,
Hmm.
it doesn't sound like it's that important. That according to this, it's 4 times more important to have a close date.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I find that just crazy. Um, Number one important factor on a listing agent,
Yeah,
reputation, number one.
awesome. Well, and I think that goes right into why you see the same agent's sign or the same couple agent sign over and over and over and over in locations because reputation is a big deal. And if you get to be known as the listing agent in a certain area, you will benefit from that. So again, buyer's agents learn how to be a listing agent and it's also very, very, very important to get your face out into the masses. And although social media is not talked about, at least you're showing up on people's screens. And I do think that's important. But hey, reputation matters. When you see a listing sign go up and a sold sign go up underneath that listing sign over and over and over again, that's just gonna it's a gravy train for those people.
According to that same study about the service,
Hmm.
the lowest four, I'm just
Hmm.
going to go four, and then I have another comment. The lowest is professional designations held by agent,
Is the lowest form.
1%.
That's okay.
Number
Um,
two, agent seems accessible.
um, I'm going to talk on the designations
Hold on,
first.
we'll come back to that. Number three, the agent's brokerage.
That's still a high up there.
No, this is from the bottom.
Oh, okay.
This is from the bottom.
Okay.
Commission.
Interesting.
So again, professional designation is important, 1%. Technology or accessibility, 2%.
Hmm.
Brokerage is 3%. Commission is 4%.
I'm surprised that the accessibility is so low. Um,
But again,
but
does it go back to that thing where they
they
just
just
assume
they just
because you're on your
assume
phone
they
24/7?
they just assume it's like they're everybody has an instant response wired into them now at a certain age and below. Um, but the designations, it might not be important to the buyer or the seller, but I still think it's important to have them because education helps you as a realtor be better. And it's okay to get them. I mean, it helps you get your CEs, and I got my designations by double dipping and getting my CEs. You got to do the hours anyway. And it doesn't hurt them to show that you've taken extra care to, learn more about your business. So the biology degree got you through medical school. You got into a general surgery residency, which got you into a cardiothoracic fellowship. So those things all add up. And I think the same thing works with real estate.
Last topic on this report is the
Mhm.
number one top methods the agent used to market your home. What I find
It better not be a sign in the front yard.
number two.
Well, I do believe that the sign does matter. Um, some people don't want one though, and I've
Yep.
had that happen.
Yep. What I think is really interesting about this, because we as a brokerage do a lot of this,
Hmm.
and I'll go back to the last topic I have is direct mail. Only 8% of sellers have said that their agent does a direct mailing campaign.
And is that considered a negative thing or a positive thing?
Well, it goes to my next topic. I'm kind of revamping my commission structure for sellers. I'm very much giving them
Who you're giving them a menu?
a menu and say, what do you want?
Hmm. And at your top level commission, you're giving them the full meal deal, so to
Yep.
speak.
Yep.
And then do you do it down by a half a percent or a whole percent of what they get to take away?
We haven't quote fine-tuned that yet, but it's
Hmm.
about a quarter to a half, depending on I mean, this is relatively new.
Hmm.
Where we're struggling is when, so I have me personally,
Hmm.
I have a lot of cold calls coming to me, right?
Hmm.
And one of the first questions, and it's higher now than it ever has been. What's your commission? Like are
Oh,
you human?
that's the first thing they're asking.
It's one of the top two. It's like, are you human? Are you AI? What's your commission?
Right.
And I, my response has kind of been like, what do you want? Well, it basically comes across as being completely sarcastic. So I'm working on how to tone that better to say it. And all the ones that we've done that with, we're about 90% success rate to getting the listing.
No, I guess it depends on how you answer, but you could say, well, what services are important to you?
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying is we're fine tuning it, right?
Hmm.
And and I mean, it's not like I'm being complete smart aleck and they hang up the phone. I mean, it's a really high conversion rate of the
Hmm.
calls that we're still getting.
Hmm.
But I find it very fascinating now when you lay out what the difference is. And
Hmm.
some of these conversations have been, if you would like to pay for this, you could. If you want to do this, you could do it, and then we'll keep the commission low. And I'm completely frank and say, if you want the low end price for commission, I 100% respect that. Like, I never tell anyone what they should do with their money, right?
Right. But I have to interject something really quickly before you pop off the next thought. I
Pop
do,
up.
I do, before you introduce your next thought. I'm sorry. Um, because, I think it's a dangerous sign in the sense that the general public disrespects the realtor and commoditizes the realtor. And, if the very first thing they're asking is, what do you charge? It's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
but
okay,
I don't, I take that different. I
why?
don't think they disrespect. I think we as the professionals have disrespected our own business.
I think we have, but I
We've
think this
made our
whole,
own bed with the consumer, in my opinion.
well, I know, but I have to say, yes, there's a lot of ways that realtors have done that. I will go on record and say what the National Association of Realtors did over the summer last year was a huge insult to realtors because they didn't even have our back, and that's our National Association of Realtors.
Well, that just happened last week
Yeah,
or 2 weeks ago with this clear
yeah,
cooperation.
yeah.
They literally straddled the fence again.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? Do we need a National Association of Realtors? How about we go under our own state associations and still be required to follow the code of ethics?
Well, NAR does a lot of good, but they are not moving the ball forward. I
But
mean,
the National Association of Realtors designation, when you're an NAR member, and that allows you to follow the National Association Code of Ethics, if, how about if you want to be a realtor in the state of Minnesota and have MLS access, you agree
well,
to follow the
I think we're
association's
combining two
ethics.
things. I know that if, again, for me,
Hmm.
I'm not going to speak for other agents that are listening or whatever, because so
Hmm.
much of our business, my business, is people that I've never met, never spoken to them, don't know who they are, don't have a connection somehow. I know that they probably have talked to somebody else, or they've heard, or they've read something that maybe has confused them, where they know right now, and it seems to be breaking news that negotiate or that commissions are negotiable. Well, they've always been.
Absolutely. They've always been negotiable. There's nothing
But
new
it's the
about that.
big thing, and there's a lot of articles out there right now that don't even explain it
No.
well, well-known, newspapers and what have you. So I don't mind. I actually am enjoying this dialogue, um,
Hmm.
because I think it's important for them to know what they're getting.
Yeah, but commissions have always been negotiable
Right.
since
But
day
going back
one.
to the a la carte thing, the
Right.
menu. So
But I'll tell
today,
you,
for example, we have 300 letters going out for lake listing that goes on tomorrow.
mhm, awesome.
But
That's
so
awesome.
my business partner did all that. They're going out first class mail.
Hmm.
He's probably in $700, 750 to do that.
I think you could have done that a lot less expensive if you'd have been using postcards in certain systems. Way
But
less
we don't
expensive
want
than that.
postcards and we don't want certain systems. We
Okay.
absolutely could do it. But what we want to do is we want it to go first class so they get there on time. They don't look like spam because there's a certain message that we're conveying in there,
Okay.
which is, it's available, it's timing with open houses. Like we can't wait for it to be stuck somewhere. And there's nothing worse than spending this money and you get a call on Monday, go, hey, I just got your postcard in the mail. The open house was Saturday. I missed it.
Right. But you can send postcards first class. It costs more,
Right. But
but you can. I do it all the time.
yes, so do I. But we are doing a flyer that has multiple pictures with link, with a, here, go to this website, kind of a deal. But
Mhm.
again, I'm just saying to do that listing, we walked through with that seller what their options were.
Cool.
And they found it important to have a mailer.
Okay. I have to go back to the National Association of Realtors because it's very important for people to understand. And then we should probably wrap up because it's 12:15. But I think it's very important for people to understand right now, the system is if you belong to the National Association of Realtors and you're a dues paying member to the National Association of Realtors, that membership is you being a realtor, which means you now are expected to follow the code of ethics, the realtor code of ethics, which is not a small task. It's a big deal. In the state of Minnesota, for the first time, you can not be a member of the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, and have access to the MLS. So you can be interfacing with the public, and now you're an agent, and you no longer are expected or have to follow the code of ethics. I find that extremely problematic. So if you don't have to do it through the national system because you're ticked off at the NAR, I think the state should kick into gear. Well, you don't have to belong to the National Association of Realtors to have access, but you are not going to get out of being required to follow the Realtor Code of Ethics because it's a big, 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 big deal, in my opinion. Because the first code of ethic is just basic honesty to the other side of the transaction. Give me a break. You can't say you're going to follow that. So that's my opinion on choosing to belong to NAR or not belonging to NAR. I will belong to NAR because I will not go out as an agent and say, I don't have to follow the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics. And I find agents that are doing that, um, they're not my fave.
I agree.
So that's my
So
point.
we end with like, smash, tag, post, comment. No, I don't have it.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
no, seriously. Thank you, David. It's always an awesome Monday chatting with you.
Adios. Enjoy your St. Paul Club.
St. Paul University Club.
Sorry, St. Paul University Club.
Yes, there's a difference.
I know I don't have the membership card,
All
so
right.
I might know. Bye.
See you later.